Hey there, folks. Welcome to another edition of Stranger in a Southern Land. I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning. Today on the program, I speak with Jason from Brushy Mountain Winery in Elkin, North Carolina. First of all, I want to let you guys know that this is probably not my best effort as an interviewer, but I was kind of preoccupied during the interview because the audio wasn't sounding as good as it normally does for the podcast, so I must warn you about that as well. But it's a wonderful conversation. You hear Jason just fine. You just might have a hard time hearing me. But if this podcast leaves you wanting more about Brushy Mountain Winery, make sure you visit their downtown Elkin location and, pick up a bottle. It's pretty good wine. I'll let you know because this bottle's empty right now. And make sure you tell them that Jake Manning sent you there when you visit Brushy Mountain Winery in downtown Elkin, North Carolina. But if you want to visit me this weekend, I will be in Williamsport, Pennsylvania this Sunday for Northeast Wrestling. I know I was supposed to be in Williamsport September 12th, but of course that date got rained out, so it's been rescheduled for this Sunday, September 27th, Williamsport, Pennsylvania, Northeast Wrestling. So make sure you come visit me there. Also, too, if you guys are interested in local comedy, make sure you come and check out Charlotte Comedy Theater. They perform at the NC Music Factory every Friday and Saturday. Also, don't forget about Tremonstrous Comedy Wednesdays at the Tremont Music Hall every Wednesday, I believe, this October. And Nick Alexander, former podcast guest, make sure you support him and all his endeavors at Tremonstrous Comedy Wednesdays at the Tremont Music Hall. But if you want to support me, make sure you follow me on social media. I am available on Twitter at ManScoutManning and on Instagram at ManScoutManning. If you have a question about the podcast, make sure you email me at jake@sslshow.com. Or if you want to book me for an upcoming wrestling event, make sure you email me at manscoutmanning@yahoo.com. Anyways, let's get into this wonderful conversation with Jason from Brushy Mountain Winery here on Stranger in a Southern Land. All right, folks, I'm sitting here with Jason from Brushy Mountain Winery. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Jason. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and talking to me.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about North Carolina wines.
Okay, and that's kind of a big thing. Is actually as I drove up here, I saw multiple signs for wineries off the interstate here. So this seems to be a pretty rich country as far as wine goes.
Yeah, well, pre-Prohibition, North Carolina was the largest wine producer in the U.S. So we're just kind of catching up with where we were before Prohibition. But you're certainly in the heart of the Yadkin Valley right now.
Okay, and what do you think makes this area so prevalent with the wineries as far as agriculture?
Well, I mean, I think there was it all goes kind of back to the Green Leaf Foundation, which was our grant, which was allowed farmers to keep farming that were farming tobacco. They just moved to a different crop. And so it was a way for people to still farm the land, and the soil was suitable. Just seemed like a good way for them to transition.
Now let's get into your background and stuff like that. I think we talked just briefly off camera, and you said that you went to App State, and did you grow up in North Carolina as well?
No, I'm from North Carolina, but I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, that's right.
And I came back to North Carolina after Hurricane Hugo tore up my house in Charleston, South Carolina. Came back to go to college, went to school at App, left Boone to work in Napa for a couple of years, and then came back and found myself in the Yadkin Valley.
Well, what compelled you to go to Napa?
It was just, I always had that interest in learning everything I could about winemaking, and that seemed like the best place to learn. So that's how I went out there. And I've been in the wine business my entire adult life, so I knew folks out there, and I just wanted to give it a shot.
Well, how were you always in the business of wine? Is it in family, or what got your interest?
I've just worked in restaurants, or I had a wine shop while I was in college, a partner in a wine shop when I was in college, and I worked for a wine distributor, so I just fell in love with wine early on, and it was more the culture, the history, really even before I could legally drink wine. And then it just kind of went from there, and just followed my muse.
Okay, what was there a particular moment that sticks out in your mind, like, oh yes, this is what I like, Because, I talk to brewers a lot, and there's that moment where, obviously, you ever have the first beer, and then you have your first craft beer, and then you learn the love of it. Was there ever a story like that with you with wine? Like, I had my first wines, and explaining to me why this is good, why this is bad, and that's where you fell in love with it?
Yeah, I had that epiphany moment, certainly, and I remember it was, I was doing a tasting at a restaurant that I worked at, and I was just blown away by the range of flavors in the wine. And so that really, I think I went home that evening and started reading wine books or anything I could get my hands on about wine, and so it just kind of went from there.
And so you make the big move to Napa and stuff like that. What were some of the things you learned out there, and why is that place so rich with wine? Like, obviously the agriculture is fantastic out there, and people have been doing it for quite some time. But what really makes it like kind of the benchmark? Because a lot of people, when they talk about like American wines, they talk about Napa and the entire area.
I don't know if it's a confluence of a great location and its proximity to a major metropolitan area. I think that certainly had something to do with it. Napa's just an hour north of San Francisco, and so it was very a convenient spot. And then out there you had more Italians and migrants that had moved out there that had some type of they had a wine culture already, and it just seemed to flourish there. But Napa, it's ideal weather, great soil, just great conditions to grow grapes, and it just kind of flourished from there. But it is the heart of American wine, is in Napa, and so I just it just worked out that that's where we ended up.
Now, when you say like ideal conditions for growing wine, what would you say are? Give me a list of what are the ideal things for a location to grow good wine.
Well, it's obviously weather and soil, and those are really the two things. Whereas here we have hot, humid days and warm nights. Napa Valley has hot days, cool nights, and that's kind of great for flavor development. And we've had a season like that this year here, where we're having cooler nights. So for 2015, I expect the reds to be fantastic. And knock on wood, I always wait until we get into the cellar before I say that. But I feel we're on track this year to have a great vintage. And so here, compared to Napa, the soils are different, so we get a different flavor profile from the wine. You certainly, where the grapes are grown impacts the flavor of the composition of the grape and the flavors of the wine. And so that's why each region has its own particular taste profile, so to say. And Napa just is that perfect spot where everything comes together. But, as much as I loved working in Napa, I personally prefer the wines of Sonoma a little bit more, and North Carolina even more than that. So, I just felt it was a good move for me to make, to learn everything I could about the wine industry.
Okay. Well, I'd like to learn a little bit of the wine industry right now, because I have a pretty good idea how beer is brewed, but I wouldn't say that I have the best idea of how wine is made, in a sense. I mean, all I can think of is just Lucille Ball smashing grapes, and then it runs down, and you let that ferment, and there's wine. But what is really the process of making wine? Starting with, like, you pick the grapes, you have the grapes. How do we get from that to the bottle?
There are two different processes, and for white grapes, we destem the grapes. We have equipment, a destemmer, and we crush the grapes, and then we will press the grapes, and we ferment the juice for white wines. For red wines, we destem the grapes, and then we ferment the juice on the skins, and that's where the color comes from. So that's just kind of once you break open the skins of grape, that juice is there, there's yeast in the air, it's going to start fermenting on its own anyways. And so it's what we do is just try to nudge that along in the direction that we want it to go without being overly manipulative of the fruit. And for example, white wines, I have 2 white wines in the cellar right now that are fermenting in stainless steel. I'm fermenting those at 62 degrees, and so I'm doing a very long cool fermentation. By doing that, I get more fruit aromas, tropical fruits, and really just kind of a clean style for our white wines. Red wines I'll ferment at a little bit of a higher temperature, which really in red wines kind of accentuates the fruit as well. So once it comes to me in the winery or into the cellar, I'm just trying to keep it on the road, so to say, in the right direction, and not be, sometimes it's best to kind of leave it alone and let it do its own thing. I just give it the best conditions possible, and give it the best chance to make a great wine. But we are dependent upon getting good fruit. If we get good fruit, our job is so much easier.
And what are some issues that you said you're just trying to keep it on the road? What are some issues you're looking out for on a day-to-day basis?
At this point, when, for example, with the whites that we have in the cellar right now, we are just trying to protect them, be it the use of sulfur or using gas to blanket the wine so it doesn't oxidize. So I think that's, I guess my point is for our particular philosophy on winemaking, a hands-off approach kind of works best. Mm-hmm. And so we hope we get the best grapes possible, and with the flavors already there, and we just kind of nudge it along. And there's all types of issues that can happen in the cellar. If your cellar's not clean, if there was rot in the fruit that came to you, we try to mitigate that by sorting or whatever the case may be. So really, we are just conveyors of the grapes to wine, and we just try to make sure we give it the best opportunity to make the best wine.
So pretty much it's all before the fermentation process of making sure you have the good wine, your cellar's clean, and then it's just almost crossing your fingers in a sense from there?
Yeah, yes. In some ways it is, but it's with a little bit of experience and just some common sense, think about all the people that make wine in their extra bedroom or their garage. And cultures for hundreds of years have been making wine. So the conversion of sugars to alcohol is easy. It's just making sure that as a commercial winery, we make it where we want it to go. So we get it where we want it to go.
Okay. Well, like I said, you were in Napa, you get this education and stuff like that. And what brought you back to North Carolina?
This is home, and really it was exciting to see what was going on in North Carolina. And I had family here, and it was just, I was out in Napa for 2 years, and really after a year and a half I knew that I wanted to come back home. And so best decision I've ever made. I'm with my family doing what I love to do right here and at home.
Well, what brought you? Did you immediately start working for Brushy Mountain, or were there other places, stops in between?
I came back and I worked for a wine distributor immediately, and then 6 months later was when harvest started, and I reached out to a couple of folks, and I worked with a winery consultant, and Brushy was one of his clients. And once his winery got up and running off the ground, he wanted to focus more on that. And so the owners of Brushy came to me and asked me if I wanted to be their winemaker, and I jumped at the opportunity. Great opportunity for me. That was in 2007, and then we me and my partner Amy Eulis purchased the winery in 2013.
Okay. Now before, like describe what Brushy Mountain Winery was before, like the previous owner and stuff like that. Was it a smaller business, or like how would you describe their business model and kind of how they're set up?
Well, thankfully, I agreed with what they were doing, so we really have made little changes in that we just kind of put our own stamp on it. But and this was more suited to me, anyways, being the fact that we are an urban winery. We get to focus on making the wines and selling the wines through partnerships that we have with growers.
So you don't have to have like a vineyard location, you're just buying quality grapes. Is that what you mean by urban?
Exactly. By urban, I mean we are downtown Elkin.
Yeah, like if you look out the window, this is downtown, Main Street, Elkin.
Yep, and personally, I didn't want to work farmer hours. So, and there are other people that just naturally are better growers than I am. So, I work with great folks that know what we want, and so I'm confident every year they're going to bring me the best possible fruit they can. And so we have a great relationship. We don't have to, especially downtown, I don't have to mow the grass. I don't have to be working in the vineyard at 95 degrees. So this was an urban winery. I get to focus on really just making the wines, and so it's a great match for me.
Have they always been located at this location?
They have. This was building was built in the 1890s to house a canning company. It was called the Elkin Canning Company. And so when people come into the tasting room, they don't realize that they're standing on the floor above the winery. Our barrel room is down below, directly below the tasting room. All of our tanks and cellar are in the back of the building. So I think a lot of people don't realize. They may just think we're a tasting room, but we are a fully functioning winery.
Okay. This is obviously an interesting building. It's got some interesting history. Like, just look around, like the wall over there. I don't know if it's original paintings of like.
It was. We remodeled.
There's like ads that are painted on the brick wall right now. So that's what I find interesting. That was the first thing to come out when I wanted to.
Yeah, we remodeled 2 years ago, and we knew we'd get to the exposed brick if we went far enough back. And in the process of doing that, we uncovered those ads, and they were painted in the 30s.
So obviously, like this is like an outdoor, like this would be an outside extent. That wall would be an outside exterior of another building in a sense. Like, right on.
Yeah, we think this was the interior actually. Okay. What was here in the 30s? The cannery was here until the mid 20s. We don't know what was here in the 30s when that was painted, but I have to believe that was on the inside just because they're painted on the paper. I imagine they would have washed off, but we don't really know.
Any other surprises you found with this building? Because sometimes when you run into these older buildings, there's always different kinds of surprises.
Well, a lot of people firmly believe that there's a ghost in the building. I have never seen him. He is apparently an older gentleman. This is a great building for making wine. Our cellar stays cool in the dead of summer, being that it's underground.
Let's go back to the ghost story. What's the story of this person that's haunting the halls? Like, what's his story?
He was from the way that I understand it, he was one of the cannery owners, and the story is he comes back to check to make sure everybody's doing their work, and occasionally a light will turn on, or somebody might hear a door creak open or whatnot. But had quite a few people that don't really like to spend too much time in the cellar. They like to get out of there as quickly as possible because they feel they're in the presence of something. Whether or not
somebody's watching them to make sure they're doing work.
Exactly. But luckily, I haven't encountered it yet.
Okay. We'll see. But anyways, another thing about this building, like it's very well decorated. It's a very beautiful building. As far as like it being a tasting room and stuff like that, do you guys get a lot of traffic, or what type of customers are coming in here? Because like I said, you're right here on Main Street. I don't know how much tourism or what flows through here.
Well, we're kind of in the heart of the Yadkin Valley, so a lot of people start their tour of wineries in or around Elkin. There's Swan Creek area, which is a sub-region of the Yadkin Valley to the southwest of us. Going north all the way to Virginia are wineries. And so we see a mix of folks that are here for a weekend touring wineries to people that are doing day trips up from Charlotte or Greensboro, and then we also get some traffic people that are discover wineries in North Carolina as they go down 77, and so they start to see the winery signs, and luckily when they pull up wineries, we're one of the closer ones to the highway, so we get some of those folks as well. And we also get this past Sunday, for example, we had quite a few people that just came to experience downtown Elkin. Sundays is pretty quiet in town, but they liked wine, and so they found us by really happenstance, just exploring downtown Elkin. We do some things to, since we are downtown, we feel a commitment to this community. And so when we took over, we realized a lot of people were coming into Elkin to have dinner or whatnot, maybe after touring wineries. Most wineries, especially that are out of town.
Yeah, because they're on a farm or.
Exactly, and they'll close at 5 o'clock or so. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, well, let's stay open a little bit later, and then we decided to have live music on Fridays and Saturday nights, and we do it pretty early, 6 to 8. It's enough time for people to wind up to end their day tasting with one last tasting room, or folks that want to come in and have a bottle of wine before they go out to dinner. And so we felt that was something that not only would folks visiting the area doing wineries would enjoy, but also was a great thing for this community. There wasn't another venue for live music, and so the room sounds great, and that's just something that we started doing.
Okay. Is there any other marketing opportunities or things you pay attention to a lot to get people to come in through your door?
Yeah, we do. We work. We do a lot of. We're as proactive as we can to. But we do it in a, we don't spend a lot of advertising. We do more kind of guerrilla marketing, so to speak. And
when we say a marketing style, guerrilla style marketing, what are some of the things you do?
We try to, we just make ourselves available to tasting rooms in the area if they want us to come and pour. We just try to be places and get our name out. And so it's, I should say it's more in-house marketing. And so that's really, we just take a very simple approach to get in front of folks. And I'm totally stuck on that question. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Like I said, but also let's talk more about your product line. What are the wines that you're selling? You said you got some reds, you got some whites, but what types and stuff like that? What do you guys roll out? What are you most proud of also too? I know I just asked you the questions. I'm sorry. You do a better job. But let's talk about your product line.
Well, we are in the land of sweet tea and Pepsi. So we do wines from dry to semi-sweet. And we cover, and some of those are traditional ports, for example, to dessert wines. We work with vinifera, as do most people in the Yadkin Valley. If you go east of Greensboro, you'll start to see more muscadines and scuppernons and whatnot. But here in the Yadkin Valley, almost everybody focuses on vinifera. And that's going to be your classic grape varietals, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Chardonnay, that sort of thing. So we do a mix of dry and semi-sweet wines, and everything from utilizing grapes that most people would be aware of. Mm-hmm. Since we work predominantly off of one vineyard, our philosophy has always been, since we're working off of this one plot, to make the best wines possible. And if that meant not doing a wine labeled as a Cabernet instead of a blend, then that's fine. Whatever is going to make the best wine possible. And so most of our reds are blends. Our whites are generally single varietal Chardonnay or Pinot Gris, for example, or Niagara. And then since this building was an old cannery, they used to can blackberries in this building. We make a blackberry wine as well, and have an homage to the history of this building.
Okay. If you were to give me one or two wines that you're like, oh, this is going to be the best wines we have, or ones that if I've never been in here before, I want you to give you one of my better wines. What would you say are your better products that you would put in front of me?
Well, we've always been known for our Chardonnay, and our Chardonnay is a little bit unique in the sense that we, after the wine is finished fermenting in stainless steel, I will split the lot. Half of it will go to barrel, and that may be anywhere from 8 to 10 months, and it will go through secondary fermentation. I'll have the balance of that Chardonnay will stay in stainless steel and will not go. So I want the structure from the oak, but I want the crisp, clean acidity from the stainless steel. Chardonnay is
those are the differences, just that the acidity of the stainless steel?
Yeah, you get the influence from the oak, and obviously stainless steel is neutral. So really you're just getting the fruit and yeast, kind of that sort of profile. But we don't, we take making the wine seriously, but we don't take ourselves too serious, and we have fun with it. And so we leave ourselves open to explore and try different blends and different styles of wine. But we're known for our dry whites and dry reds.
That would be your signature. Now you said a little bit ago that you purchased the winery and stuff like that. What made you want to be a business owner as opposed to just being the head winemaker? I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. You like being the guy that everybody turns to yell at.
The other day, as I was cleaning out the drain, realizing winemaking not so glamorous. So not only am I making the wine, but I'm also sweeping the floor of the tasting room. It's just a great opportunity, and this was a chance for us to make our mark on North Carolina wines, and not looking back, great experience, and we're just having fun doing it.
Well, what are some things here that you guys want to focus on in the future and going forward? Do you want a larger tasting room, a larger facility, or are you happy where you're at, or are you looking to make better wines? Where's your focus at right now as a business owner?
Well, we're always looking to make better wines. And that's the...
And how do you do it? How would you do that? You obviously have a good process, but really seems to be dependent upon the crop. How can you physically ensure that you make better wines?
Thankfully, I have all the years previous experience, and so and sometimes it is just luck. Say our barrel program, you may get 1 or 2 barrels that the barrel itself, its impact on the wine is something special that is beyond our control. Conversely, you can have it where that barrel doesn't impart, the best flavors or the flavors that you want. So, it's just we never rest. We're always pushing what we do in the winery and what we learned from years past, just to make continually a better wine. And really, as far as the future goes, we're just trying to build the brand, get the word out, let people know that we're here, and we eventually will. We've looked at some vineyard property, and so that's on the back burner.
So you're thinking about doing that to possibly have a little more control of the crop you bring in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, our grower grows specifically for us, so we
got a good relationship there, but you want you always want a little bit more control. That doesn't.
Yeah, and that's and that may be just a thing we want to give it a shot and see how we do with it, and where I think a lot of wineries offer, people will go for the scenery. It will be a scenic vista as they have a picnic overlooking the vineyard or whatnot. in town we give them a different experience. And so I don't think we'll ever move the tasting room. We love being here, and but a vineyard will happen one of these days.
Okay. So those are the things you're thinking about in the future as well. Is there any other things that you're looking forward to doing other than just making better wine, and any other growth areas that you think the winery can do?
Yeah, there's always something that there's something more that we can do. But my partner, she has a real job. So between the two of us, we're pretty stretched thin, but we're not resting either. We're always pushing forward. So I think for us, the next couple of years is really just building the brand in-house, and whatever we can do to do that, be it promoting the winery as an event space that people can come and use for parties or whatnot, or really just we are trying to get the word out that we're here, and since we're one of the older wineries in this area, there are people that have been coming to the Yadkin Valley forever to tour wineries, and they're just finding us now, so we realize that's just something we have to really work on, is to just keep our presence out. When we get done tasting or talking today, I'm going to Winston-Salem and to Mount Airy to taste with some folks. So we're just constantly trying to push the brand forward, and what we do and how we do it.
Okay. Well, how are the avenues that you're pushing the brand forward as far as social media goes? Like what give those tags right now. Where can people get up with you, and also to you guys on Instagram or other things that people?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram.
As Brushy, give the tags. Is it at Brushy Mountain, or?
I think it's at Brushy Wine.
Oh, Brushy Wine.
Yep, so we are. That's a platform that we use where we're not constantly tweeting or whatnot. Something that I think people want to see, the fruit when it comes in, or some aspect of the winemaking. We'll certainly post that, but that's something we're still working to learn.
It seems like people use the Twitter to get the information out, or they use the Instagram as to brand them as something. Like, this is what we do. These are the grapes. Here's the tasting. Here's the facility. It's used as a branding mechanism, as more promotional tool. It seems like, at least Instagram, and then Twitter is usually the one that gets people out, like, hey, this week and that, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we're still learning that. To be honest with you, but and it's been a great tool, and really the most rewarding aspect for us of the whole social media thing is when we get direct feedback from customers, and they'll say we had a great time at the winery, or they took great care of us, or whatever. That's I'd almost rather have that than have 100 likes on a picture that I posted. Mm-hmm. It just
what's your business? It's the thing you own.
Reaffirms that we're doing a good job, and so. But yeah, I probably need to be a little bit more active on Instagram.
Everybody can be more active, and then you get so active you feel annoying. And that seems to be about the right amount for people, is when you're annoying. And those people that get all the likes and the favorites and everything else. But what's the website address?
It's www.brushymountainwine.com.
Okay, and how can people come and get your wine? Is it only sold through the tasting room here, or where can people get it?
They can order it off our website.
Mm-hmm.
They can Facebook message us or Twitter, however they want to get in touch with us. We can ship to residents of North Carolina, but we have wines in relatively close to the winery, be it up in the mountains, Boone, Blowing Rock, Mooresville. We'll be in Charlotte soon, Winston-Salem, Greensboro. For any place outside of that, Asheville or Raleigh, unless they're come to visit us, or they see it at a festival, we'd have to ship it to them.
So it's pretty much shipping right now, but obviously wine distributors and other places like that in certain locations.
Yeah, we self-distribute, but we hope to have a distributor that will be statewide within the next year. And so that's really, that's the next step that we're really working on to kind of grow the business. We get people in Raleigh and Asheville all the time asking, where can I find your wines? And so we have found for us, our wines do best with the small independent retailer or the farm-to-table restaurants. Those are the places where people go to experience something local, or a small independent wine shop may be able to explain what's special about our wines to a customer better than just being on a shelf in a grocery store.
Yeah.
And so, that's the relationship that we are really trying to build with our business partners, be it a restaurant or a wine shop.
All right, Jason, I just want to tell you, thank you so much. Is there anything else that I've glazed over, anything you want to get out about the winery and the tasting room and let people know to come into yours?
I think we offer something completely unique to the Yadkin Valley, not only being in a historical building. We give people a chance to visit the winery, which I don't think they get to experience at a lot of tasting rooms. And so I think it's just people need to be aware of what urban wineries are, and they offer something different that's just as enjoyable as visiting a tasting room in a vineyard.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. But Jason, thank you very much for taking time out of your day. I know you're a very busy person. I know you're not regularly open today, so I thank you so much for coming into work.
My pleasure.
So, thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir. Thank you.